Nigel Farage Show.
Mr. Nigel Farage.
Thank you, Donald, and good evening, everybody. Well, 15 years ago, student debt was not an issue in British politics and barely one in life in this country. But boy, it is today. And a report out today from the Institute of Fiscal Studies makes the point that the average debt levels students from low-income families will ramp up during their years at university will equate to £57,000. In fact, many graduates, it's now thought, will be paying off these loans well into their 50s. An even higher number probably will never, ever clear this amount of student debt. And what is a fact is that English graduates are now have the highest student debts in the whole developed world. Yet the government defend the whole system. Joe Johnson, Old Etonian, told Sky News, what we have is a sustainable university funding system. Well, that may be OK from the government's point of view. And the fact the interest rate on these loans has now gone up to 6% may be incredibly good news for companies that are engaged and involved in student loans. But what about the people? What about the students that are coming out of university with these debts wrapped around their neck? What I want to know from you is this debt one that is worth paying? Is it really worth it? Is going to university really going to be of that much value to every single student? Let me know what you think on 0345 60 60 973. Give me your personal experiences. Did it work for you? Is this level of debt actually very small compared to what you're going to earn as a result of going to university? Or actually, is it a burden you could have done without? Could you perhaps have got just as good a job if you hadn't gone to university? Text me on 84850, or maybe you're one of those, like me, who skipped university completely and frankly have never really looked back. In which case, tweet me on Farage at LBC, and of course you can watch me on Facebook by going to lbc.co.uk. Paul in Brecon in mid Wales. Paul, we're sending a lot of students now to university. They're coming out with some pretty eye-watering levels of debt that in many cases they'll be paying off for the next 30 years. Is it a debt worth paying, Paul?
Not really, but I know of cases now where managing directors have told me that their staff in call centre earning $23,000 have refused £5,000 pay rises because it puts them into paying back the loans.
Yes, that's right, because the way this works, there's a whole series of thresholds, isn't there, at which
Correct.
you begin to pay back small amounts, and once you start to earn £40,000 plus, you're paying really quite a lot of money back every month directly. So people are refusing pay rises not to trip themselves over that threshold.
Correct. I mean, the whole system, it's not. The government have got to accept that most of this is not going to ever be paid back. So they've got to account for it differently on their books. I mean, what's happened is, frankly, and I know this sounds strange, I think too many people are going to university. In my day, it was like 1%, and that was too little. I accept that totally, and I'm totally for social mobility. I myself, was born in poverty and came up to university, and I've been very successful in life. But so I'm all for social mobility, and it's great that the poorer people, I think there's 40% more going than in 2009. But to go with this debt and to do the different courses that are not needed by society is ridiculous.
Paul, tell me, what age are you?
I'm 72, so
72.
I went to university when there was like 1 or 2% went.
Yeah. I mean, I'm 53, and I didn't go to university, and of my year, we were told about 12%. Now, whether it was 12 or 15 is by the by, but that kind of was the percentage of people of my age group that were going to university. So I suspect when you went, it was a bit higher than 1%. But as you say, it was there for the academic elite, Paul, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. And really what we should be doing now is preferencing the university systems, the university places, to the courses that the country needs, like engineering, medicine, and so on, and technical science. We should be doing that and maybe giving those people a discount or even no tuition fees at all to encourage the right things.
Well, I have to say, Paul, I'll hark back a couple of years to when I was party leader in the last general election, and I suggested that for the STEM subjects that you just outlined, that we should not be charging people fees because we have shortages in those areas. areas. I mean, of course, Paul, this did become a huge issue in this election when Jeremy Corbyn came out on behalf of Labour and said he would completely abolish tuition fees. Now, that was said to cost about 11 billion sterling a year. It got him a heck of a lot of votes, didn't it?
It did, but I mean, you've got to pay for it. And can I say, if you abolish them completely like that, the percentage would even rise further, and we'd have more silly courses on all sorts of silly subjects. That's what's happening.
Right.
But basically, the quality. I can tell you now that another MD told me, and I'm connected with a number of companies. A number of MD told me that out of 40-odd graduates they've got, they only can trust 3 to write emails, and they actually pick them out. They can actually do it and deal with the customers. So it is not the same level as it was in your day or my day, I'm afraid. It just isn't.
No, Paul, I think you have raised a very valuable point, I'm sure. And Paul, thank you. And I'm sure some of you will be listening to Paul and getting very angry and saying, hang on, I worked blimmin' hard for 3 years at university. I've got a great education out of it. I don't like the debt. But how dare Paul from Brecon, with Nigel nodding along, say that so many graduates actually haven't got that big of advantage in the workplace? I have to say, I think a lot of graduates maybe have no advantage at all in the workplace these days. Because we heard about the call centre there, didn't we? Well, actually, you don't need to have gone to university to work in a call centre, in my view. But you do if you want to be a doctor. Jana in Wanstead, what's your experience of this?
Hello, good evening, Nigel. How are you?
Good evening. I'm all right, thank you very much.
That's good.
So what do you think?
Well, what I think it's diabolical. So many students are saddled with debt at this stage.
Yeah.
Specifically those that are not facing reality at the time that they take out their student loans. Some of them are coming back from moderate families with a low income, and they're not seeing the reality as it is. Not everybody is going to get a job within law. For example, I studied law, and I'm not qualified as a lawyer. So I find that £20,000 is unrealistic for me to pay off. And I'm going into different roles, like receptionist roles, administration roles, and I think people should think really carefully about their present situation before they take out a loan and they study. There could be alternatives. For example, why not go to college instead? Why not do a business course? Why not do a teaching languages course?
Or get an apprenticeship with a company or something like that. Yeah.
I feel also I was wrongly convinced at school when I was at sixth form to go to university, and that it was a great option. And,
Jana, I mean, I know it's impolite to ask a lady her age, but in this case, I'm going to if I can. How old are you?
I'm 30 years old.
30 years old. Okay, so you were, in fact, you were going to university just as tuition fees kicked in, weren't you?
Yes, but I was lucky I didn't pay £9,000 a year, but I still feel that...
You were so would it have been 3,000 when you went?
Yes, it was.
Yeah, because it was 2005, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
That Blair pushed this through. So just sort of take that one point again. So were you actually willfully, actively encouraged to go to university come what may?
I was convinced by a secretary at the sixth form and other teachers that, it was an opportunity of a lifetime, and it would change my world, and, I would have good working opportunities after I finished university.
Yeah.
I have had good opportunities, but they've been more like experience.
Yeah.
Here and there experience. And
Yeah.
I feel like if I was to go back now, I would have changed my decision at the time. I would have considered just doing an apprenticeship, like you say, or a course in business studies at college.
John, I think you were, under this regime of tuition fees, I think you were one of the guinea pigs for what has come over the course of the last 12 years, and I think an over-encouragement for people aged 18 to continue pursuing academic subjects, not giving them much advantage. Jana, that call was really, really interesting. Sounds like the students are being used as a cash cow. There's no reason to raise the loan interest rate, as the base rate is 0.25%, says Leslie Wicker on Twitter. It's a very good point. 6.1%. That is what the interest is. And can you believe that this starts to mount up from the first day you're at university. So by the time you leave university, you've racked up nearly £5,000 in interest. Someone out there is doing very well out of all of this, but it isn't the students, and particularly those who come from backgrounds where their parents aren't wealthy. Because if you're wealthy, none of it matters, does it? If you're wealthy, they can just pay the tuition fees. They can pay the accommodation fees. Nigel, I graduated in 1983. University completely wasted my time, but at least in those days, not my money, says Steve from Guildford. I'm going to ask Gavin in Oxford. Gavin, what are your experiences and what are your thoughts?
Oh, hi. I just love that last text that you've read out. That was great.
Yeah.
Hi, Nigel. Thanks very much for the opportunity.
Not a bit.
I've got a situation at the minute where my wife wants to leave her current job to pursue a career in the NHS. She currently works in the NHS.
Yep.
She can see a career in the NHS, and she wants to leave. She wants to go to university, and it's going to really impact us as an entity in the household to support that through. Now, I've got a daughter who's going through university, and she's getting bursaries and getting help, and, we help her. But to put my wife through, and what my point is a lot of focus is on the younger generation. They leave school, they go to college, they go to university. I kind of get that, and but what I see at the minute, especially with Brexit and the lack of staff in the NHS, is we've got gaps. And to put my wife through university is going to impact us massively. I mean, we're going to lose her weight.
So she wants to go into nursing, Gavin, does she? Or
no, it's not particularly nursing. She wants to be what's called an OPD, and they kind of assist surgeons during surgical
and does she have to have a degree to do that?
She does, yes.
She does,
She has to have a specific degree, which she applied for last year when the bursaries were around.
Yep.
She missed that opportunity.
Okay.
Because there was a lot of younger generation putting in for it.
So,
I don't think she was.
So, Gavin, you're pretty anxious about the situation, aren't you?
I am, yes, I am. And I think a lot of focus is on, and I listen to this, and I hear a lot of people saying that, the younger generation, when they get to uni, they've got to pay for it afterwards.
No, but
I'm like yourself, Nigel. I didn't have a university degree. I'm doing quite well in my life. I'm pushing along, but my wife's not going to get that opportunity.
No. Now, Gavin, wasn't Harold Wilson's idea of the Open University that people could sort of do university on a part-time basis? They could mix it in with the world of work. And I wonder, and I'm asking a question, listeners, that I don't know the answer to. Is Open University a way of doing this and perhaps reducing some of the debt and some of the costs, particularly for the case like Gavin's family, where somebody wants to be a mature student? Gavin, I'm going to get that answer before the top of the hour. I thank you very much indeed for your call. Right now you're listening to the Nigel Farage Show, exclusively on LBC, and it's 7:15.
Nick Ferrari at breakfast on LBC.
London Bridge terror attack, and you may recall the journalist Jeff Ho, who was stabbed in the throat.
But what really spooked me is when I saw what looked like suicide bomb vests. At that moment, I thought, oh no, they came after me. They got me in the throat. They tried to stab me twice in the stomach, managed to dodge those blows.
And what of you emotionally now?
You occasionally think about things, but then they go away quickly. Sometimes I'll be preparing a salad and I can actually still see the blood on my hands.
Nick Ferrari at breakfast, every weekday morning from 7, only on LBC.
With Hampton by Hilton, now open in Aberdeen.
Stub out your last cigarette and celebrate with a holiday in the Caribbean. London South Bank University is looking for smokers to take part in an exciting new research project in the capital. You'll be paid to take part, and along with the chance to become a non-smoker, there's a Caribbean holiday and more to be won. So hurry, search online for LSBU Stop Smoking Study. That's LSBU Stop Smoking Study. Over 18s only, T's and C's apply.
The welcome discount on unlimited BT Infinity has just got bigger, with a discount of over 35% on the UK's most powerful Wi-Fi versus major broadband providers. And no other provider gives you free access to 5 million Wi-Fi hotspots. But hurry, this offer ends 13th of July. Unlimited BT Infinity, broadband like no other. Visit bt.com/deals.
Subject to availability. New customers, terms apply. Discount was 26%, now 37% versus existing customer price. To verify, see bt.com/smarthub.
Moving house. Nightmare. I need a plasterer, plumber, electrician, builder, painter, locksmith, gardener, and somebody to move my valuables, the drinks trolley. Relax, relax. It's Trust a Trader. They have all the tradespeople you can think of, reputable and reviewed, so you always get a job well done. Well done me, I say, for getting it all sorted. I shall reward myself with a cheeky tipple from the trolley. Chin chin, pass me the gin. Visit trustatrader.com.
Trustatrader.com.
It's the Skoda Big Event. Order a new car in our big event and you'll get £500 of free fuel. And the Skoda Octavia comes with £2,000 towards your deposit and 2.9% APR representative. The Skoda Big Event from the 4th to the 17th of July. What's not to like? Find your nearest retailer at skoda.co.uk. With Solutions Personal Contract Plan. 18 and over. Subject to status. T's and C's apply. Excludes Octavia, SE Business and SE Technology. Indemnities may be required. Skoda Financial Services. For free fuel T's and C's, visit skodafreefuel.co.uk. Driven by something different. Skoda.
We've been thinking about Lucy.
Wait!
And how she's not very happy that her phone is on its way to Preston without her. And with it 86 selfies, 4 cat videos, that guy's phone number and her banking app. But at least she isn't worried about someone stealing her money. That's because at NatWest we've already thought about the left phone on the train scenario. It's why we never store your bank details on your mobile. NatWest. We are what we do.
App available to customers with online banking and a UK number.
The best place for sleepyheads is in a Bridge bedding bed.
At Bridge Bedding, we have hundreds of beds and mattresses in stock from the biggest brands in the UK. We'll beat any price on a like-for-like basis and we'll deliver for free. So before you buy your next new bed, visit a Bridge Bedding Centre, Rectory Groveley-on-Sea, Upminster Road, Hornchurch, or online at bridgebedding.com.
The best place for sleepyheads is in a Bridge bedding bed.
The Nigel Farage Show. Text 84850.
With student debts rising to more than £50,000 per student, according to the IFS, there is a real debate going on in this country. Is it actually worth it? And I'm getting a lot of very diverse and some quite strong opinion piling in from everywhere. I'm not paying for someone else's 3 years of drunken debauchery. The parents should start saving when the child is born, says Luciano from Bath. My opinion is we survived for centuries with apprenticeships. Why not cut down term time and do the rest as an apprentice, says Chris Edmond. Chris, stop being so practical, really. What's the matter with you? I'm graduating from a prestigious London university with a 40k plus debt. I had an average of 8 hours contact with lecturers each week. Value for money? ? Anonymous. And on Twitter, university doesn't automatically grant upward social mobility. Intelligence and hard work is what does in the real world, says British citizen. Luke says, let's have free uni fees, better educated society, better jobs for those from lower income areas, better economy in the long run. Luke, that is exactly what Tony Blair sold to the country. David Cameron went for it in a very, very big way. In fact, almost yet another subject on which everybody, all 651 MPs pretty much, were united. And yet it's not really working out that way, because what we're seeing are a lot of people leaving university with big debts and actually not much of an advantage in the workplace. And Rose makes the observation, which is interesting. She says, I went to university back in the days when we had grants that didn't need to be paid back, and yet very few people went to uni. So to remind ourselves, Tony Blair as Prime Minister made a massive push and set a target, a purely arbitrary figure, plucked out of the air, that 50% of our youngsters should go to university. The rest of the political class agreed, and when they realised the cost of it was completely out of control, they had, in 2005, to start charging tuition fees. They began at £3,000 a year. Famously, of course, Nick Clegg, won a lot of votes on the back of saying they wouldn't go up if it had anything to do with him, and then he voted for what is now £9,000 a year, which has become, I think, pretty standard across the university system. And yet, through all of this, And with now 44% of our youngsters going to university, we have a chronic shortage of scientists, engineers and nurses. This system is simply not working. It's yet another one of those things where you get a consensus of British politicians that is completely and utterly wrong. And I would say my view strongly is we should be sending fewer people to university, fewer people to continue academic study from the age of 18, and more people going into vocational training. I feel that very strongly. If you disagree with that, call me on 0345 6060 973. You can text any opinion you want, within reason. I might even read it out to 84850. Or, of course, you can tweet at LBC using the hashtag Farage on LBC. Tom in Boreham Wood, what is your life experience? Have you got huge debts around your neck?
Hello, Nigel. How are you?
I'm fine, Tom. How are you, more to the point?
Oh, I'm fantastic. Unfortunately, I did not go to university. I'm 22 years of age. I came out of college 2 years ago. I was doing ICT.
Right.
And despite how much I was told by my college teachers and by my school teachers how I need to go to university, otherwise I do not get anywhere in life.
Yes.
I deliberately chose not to, and I'm doing fine by myself. But one thing I would like to say is that I honestly think that there's more to this than we see. I think the way I see it is schools and colleges deliberately try to make out that you need to go to university so that they will pay large sums of money to universities. But if they don't, then there's no money for the universities, and they're a little bit screwed.
Yeah, I mean, Jana was on earlier, Tom, and she's a little bit older than you, but she was going to university in 2005 when this fee system was kicking in. I mean, tell me, how strong was the pressure that you should go to university?
It was quite strong. I mean, I was kind of losing confidence at the fact that, do I go to university or not? I just couldn't. I felt almost pressured, to put it one way.
Yeah.
I honestly did not know what to do. And in the end, the thing that turned me off of university was the debt, to be honest.
Yeah, they say, look, we know you're going to get debts, but you know what? In the long run, you'll be so advantaged in life. Well, do you know what? If you are, if you're a member, Tom, of the academic elite, the chances are it's absolutely the right thing, and you should go to university and you should pursue subjects in which you've got academic excellence. And I wouldn't discourage anyone who's really good at school from going to university. But my feeling, Tom, is that with that urging, there are too many people who frankly aren't very good at academic study that are being encouraged to do something that is not giving them any advantage in life at all. So, Tom, what are you doing now? Tell me.
I'm doing marketing for a small business.
Right. So, out knocking on doors selling, yeah?
No, not knocking out doors selling, doing email campaigns, that kind of thing.
Email campaigns. Right, well, the next time I have a campaign, Tom, I know where to come. Thank you very much, Tom, for your call and for your experience. Tom, somebody who stood up against what he was encouraged to do and appears to be very happy about it. Chris in Haywards Heath, what's your experience of this?
Hi, Nigel. Great pleasure to speak to you.
Good evening.
Good evening. My experience is I went to university for a grand total of 7 months. I chose to leave university because at the age of 21 I was offered a job with a salary that began with a 2.
Yep.
I took it and I've never looked back. I'll lay the cards on the table, Nigel. I think it is the biggest unreported con in the UK today being sold to young people. First of all, the description, £9,000 a year. It isn't a year. It's 7 months.
7 months. And somebody said earlier on one of the texts that I got that they had contact for 8 hours a week with lecturers.
That's true. I think it probably works out about £35, £40 an hour. That's not one-to-one. That's you versus 200. If I may very quickly, Nigel, also share a terrible story that I've heard from a few people in Sussex.
Yeah.
I am aware at the moment people who are 22, 23, 24 who have left university, got their degree, they are taking off their CV that they have a degree because they cannot get a graduate position. They are applying to supermarkets, they're applying to admin jobs, and they have found it more beneficial to take off their CV they have a degree.
Now, that's the first I've heard of that.
You understand, because the employer will look at it and think, this person has a 2-1 in economics or maths or English or whatever.
Yep.
They're not going to stay. I'm not going to take a chance on this person if they're going to take an opportunity.
Well, Chris, I was arguing that for many people it was not giving them an advantage having a degree. You're arguing it's an active disadvantage in some cases.
Genuine story, Nigel. I hope you can believe it. That if you're an employer and if you're a manager of a supermarket, you've got a list of CVs on your table.
Wow.
Somebody just out of university, they've got a 2-1 in history, English, whatever.
Yeah.
They're going in the bin because from my point of view...
And Chris, tell me, how's your career going?
Not too badly. I'm a housing manager.
Yep.
I am earning pretty much... My first boss said to me, if you can earn your salary in your age, you're in a good position. I'm doing that currently.
Excellent.
And I'm 27 currently.
Good for you. You keep going, Chris. Good man. Excellent. Thank you very much indeed. That was really interesting, wasn't it? The idea that people are taking degrees off their CVs. Wow. Tamsin, in Brighouse, what's your experience of university?
Hi, Nigel. Thanks for the opportunity to speak to you. Hello. You were talking about the Open University earlier.
I was asking a question, yeah. So tell me, please.
Well, I didn't go to university straight from school. I started studying at 29, so I left school and started earning straight away.
Yeah.
And my career went very well, but then when the recession came along, I was a bit concerned. What if I lost my job? What would I do? I started studying with the Open University, and my degree cost me £8,000 in total.
Wow.
I started studying in 2010. So prices have gone up a little bit since then, but I think the same degree now, which was business and economics, would cost you £12,000.
Right, but even so, that's £12,000 as opposed to £28,000, and you also can do this from home or from your parents' home or whatever's suitable, so you're not racking up other debts as well, are you?
That's right. I was working full-time and I was paying for it on a pay-as-you-go basis, so now I've finished my degree, I've got no debt.
Right,
and
so
I was working full time the whole way through.
So Tamsin,
sometimes
so the Open University still works, yeah?
Yeah, it's absolutely brilliant. Everybody
Fantastic.
that's involved with it says it's great.
Gosh, do you know, I'm really
want the experience.
I'm really pleased. I'm really pleased. I asked a question that I didn't know the answer to, and you, Tamsin from Brighouse, have just come on LBC and given me the answer. Thank you. There is a cheaper way. It can be done for about a third or perhaps even a quarter of the price. Fascinating. You're listening to The Nigel Farage Show, exclusively on LBC. It's 7:30 and time for the news with Maura Alderson.
3 weeks after the Grenfell Tower fire, only 14 families made homeless by the disaster have accepted the government's offer of temporary accommodation. More than 120 other families have rejected the offers they've received. A union's announced more strike dates for some British Airways cabin crew this month. They've already walked out over pay, but are now extending the walkout by an extra 2 weeks. Andy Murray's into the third round at Wimbledon, making it 4 British wins from 4 in today's action. The defending champion beat Dustin Brown in straight sets on a sun-drenched centre court, 6-3, 6-2, 6-2. LBC weather, warm and dry for much of the UK tonight. Rain pushing into northern parts during the early hours. Overnight lows of 13 degrees.
LBC Travel. Good evening, I'm Andy Lake. Well, starting off in Northamptonshire, the M1 was closed southbound all afternoon, not far from the Newport Pagnell services after an oil spillage. The good news is all lanes are finally back open. The bad news is there are still bad queues of around 8 or 9 miles on the approach. Nearby, the A43, A5, A509 and A45 are all still struggling as well. Severe delays in Warwickshire too. The M40 is down to just 1 lane southbound between junction 13 for Bishop Stagbrook and junction 12 for Gaydon for barrier repairs. Delays of around an hour are back to junction 14 for Royal Leamington Spa. Into Hampshire now, the M3 is down to just 1 lane southbound after a collision at junction 10 for Winchester earlier, and it's still queuing on the approach. And in Essex, really bad queues now on the A12 northbound after an accident near junction 14 for Margaretting earlier on. All lanes are back open, but delays are back to the M25 and the Brook Street roundabout. Onto the rails now, Heathrow Connect and Heathrow Express are not running after an issue with the signals, and South West trains are delayed by around an hour at Waterloo. For more real-time traffic updates, go to lbc.co.uk.
This is LBC.
If you're a business owner or manager and you want to get the best from your team, you should consider a degree apprenticeship programme with the Open University. Ian Dale spoke to Phil Jones, Managing Director at Brother UK, to find out how degree apprenticeships are benefiting his business.
There's a very adaptable external climate that we're all having to do business within. We have a well-trained workforce, then you can adapt to those conditions.
If you want to find out more about the Open University degree apprenticeships, go to lbc.co.uk.
Don't settle for poor rates. Change your travel money before you get to the airport with Thomas Exchange UK. Established in 1978, visit one of our 6 London branches or find our best rates online at tefx.co.uk. And with prepaid currency cards and international bank transfers at fantastic rates, Thomas Exchange UK is the place for your travel money. So visit tefx.co.uk today. That's tefx.co.uk.
Fletcher Day is no ordinary law firm. Finding creative and long-lasting solutions to the legal problems faced by our clients is what we do best. With offices in central London, our team of experienced solicitors take the time to understand your needs. If you're looking for bright and creative lawyers to help you maximise business opportunities or solve complex legal problems, contact Fletcher Day Solicitors at fletcherday.co.uk. Fletcher Day, passionate about law.
We've been thinking about Lucy.
Wait!
And how she's not very happy that her phone is on its way to Preston without her. And with it 86 selfies, 4 cat videos, that guy's phone number and her banking app. But at least she isn't worried about someone stealing her money. That's because at NatWest we've already thought about the left phone on the train scenario. It's why we never store your bank details on your mobile. NatWest, we are what we do.
App available to customers with online banking and a UK number.
Fancy saving up to a scorching £9,000 off list price? Westway! From the UK's largest Nissan dealer comes the used car event you've been waiting for. The Westway Nissan Cared For Summer Sale. July the 1st till Monday the 10th. We've reduced the prices of hundreds of nearly new and used cars, including Micra, Duke, Qashqai, X-Trail and Navara. For all this and many more exclusive Nissan Cared For benefits, you'll need to be quick. To find your nearest Westway,
Google Westway Nissan today.
The Nigel Farage Show on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
We're discussing the fact that students leaving university today will be having a debt of £57,000 around their neck. And I'm asking, is it a debt worth paying? And so far, a lot of you are ringing in to say it's not actually worth it. There's a lot more out there in life experience. And I'm going to make the counter-argument one more time. I genuinely think university is right for those who are academically gifted. And I would not want this debate or any of the experience that we've heard from putting anyone off who genuinely should go to university. But I'm really worried, and one or two of the calls I've had telling me, the pressure that is being put on students at school to go to university when actually they're not going to get a particularly big advantage in the workplace. Now, a story that broke last night that fascinated me. I talked a little bit about Germany, about the number of suspected terrorists now in that country, and about the link to migration. And as you may have seen, the numbers coming into Italy at the moment are running at an even higher level than they were in 2016 and 2015. And just after we came off air last night, a news story broke that I could not believe. Bill Gates, yes, Bill Gates, has blasted Germany's open-door migrant policy, warning European leaders they've got to make it more difficult for people to reach Europe from North Africa. Remember, he's the Microsoft founder. He's the world's richest man, 61 years old. He told the German newspaper, far better to spend money on foreign aid and treat the causes of migration. On the one hand, you want to demonstrate generosity, he said, and take in refugees. But the more generous you are, the more the word gets out, which in turn motivates yet more people to come from Africa. So, he is saying that Merkel's policy is building up huge, unsustainable problems and that something needs to be done to stop the boats from coming. He thinks it's foreign aid. There are perhaps many other solutions. And Gates says all this purely on the numbers. He doesn't even mention the open door to terrorists. He doesn't even mention the fact that this is actually turning countries in Europe now against each other, with the prime ministers of Hungary, of Poland, the Czech Republic and Slovakia saying some pretty rude things about the Germans and about the European Commission. And I think, Bill Gates we think of as this great philanthropist, this great globalist, and even he is now attacking the Merkel madness. I suppose, yes, folks, I do feel some degree of vindication in this. I think the policy has been a complete disaster. I suspect it'll get even worse, over the course of the next few months, particularly if we get a fine summer with a lot of people coming. And if you want to, text me on that and give me a view, 84850, or easily on Twitter at LBC using the hashtag Farage and LBC. But back to this question of £57,000 worth of debt, on average for a student, many of them be paying this back into their 50s. Is it worth it? Phil in Camberley, is it worth it?
Hi Nigel, good evening.
Hello.
I would say 50,000 isn't worth it. I dispute that the actual average is that, to be completely honest, but that's a whole different matter. The point I want to make, which I think a few callers have completely overlooked, particularly some of the older callers that might have gone to university a long time ago, is that a lot of large companies these days, especially fintechs, they're really geared to recruit graduates. If I think of where I work, and obviously I'm not going to say where that is,
sure,
tens of thousands of employees, I can't imagine there's almost a single function that would recruit someone that doesn't have a degree of some description, whether it's marketing, whether it's computing, engineering, finance. So this notion that everyone can leave university and, get to very senior high levels in fintech companies, I think is not correct, actually. I don't agree with it.
No, sure. And Phil, I wasn't trying to give that impression, by the way. I mean, one or two callers perhaps were. But you're talking about the corporate world there, really, aren't you?
I am, but bear in mind this probably is true for any company in the FTSE 100, many smaller than that,
yep.
Any company with a presence in America. The simple fact of the matter is if you've got, 50 roles that you want to intake and you
yep.
get thousands of applicants, then you need a way to filter those numbers, and in many cases you're going to need graduates. So that while I appreciate some people will find other ladders to get on in their career, and trades are all good, I think there is a certain need for a large number of graduates each year, particularly in areas like IT and computing where we are massively underpenetrated. What I would like to see is more specific incentives to encourage certain students into areas like maths where, we are struggling to fill the numbers.
Science, maths, engineering, medicine, we're struggling, Phil, with all of these things, and yet we're sending more youngsters to university than ever before. So perhaps we're not directing people the right way, and maybe, Phil, the right way to do this is to abolish tuition fees in subjects where we desperately need people.
I agree. No, I do agree that we should do that, and perhaps other areas like media studies where we're oversubscribed, the fees should be higher. There should be some sort of way to flex it.
To flex it. No, Phil, listen, thank you. And Phil making the point that a lot of big corporate companies won't employ anyone unless they've got a degree. Do you know, I have been in the European Parliament now for 19 years. I can scarcely believe it. And you cannot work for the European Parliament, and they've got, I think, 5,000 in total employees. You cannot work for the European Parliament. You cannot get the most lowly job in the European Parliament unless you've got a degree. So even though I've led a group in the European Parliament for years, I couldn't get the most lowly job. So whilst I disagree with that policy, Phil's point is a valid one. There are parts of our society where you have to have a degree. But that doesn't mean, folks, that we need to send 44% of our 18 and 19-year-olds to university. George in Thaden Boyce, tell me, do you think it's a debt worth paying?
Well, I'm not quite sure. I've got twin boys who are now 22.
Yep.
And they both went to university. One went to Lincoln, one went to Plymouth at the time when the £9,000 fees were introduced.
So your timing couldn't have been worse, really, George, could it?
It couldn't have been worse, and they've now both come out with debts of $49,000 each.
Right.
And I don't think the two of them appreciated it until they got the letters, from the...
Yeah.
In fact, they come from Glasgow, the administration set up, just how much they actually owe. And what my gripe about all of that, and yes, I knew they were taking out loans, but it's the interest that's being charged.
Well, I'm going to say...
And of that 49 grand, 6,000 of it is interest.
But, George, that interest level will go up over the years, won't it?
Well, yes, and what's happening every month, the interest that's going on to that debt is £130.
Yeah. Usury was the old
month.
Word for this, wasn't it?
Yeah. And what I don't understand is that I mean, I come from Scotland myself, and to think that you can go up there and get it free, so I don't know how that all works, and yet in England here we have
well, I tell you what, George.
Never quite get that.
I tell you what, George. There are one or two English taxpayers that might have an answer for you on that, but we'll leave that for another day.
No, and I mean, I had a Scottish father. I grew up in Scotland. I had it's interesting. The other discussions you were just going to introduce. I had a German mother, so some mixed group, but. Yes, I don't understand in Scotland. Yes, they have it free, and we have to pay at this end. But,
George, can I ask you?
The boys,
can I ask you, George? I mean, are the boys age 22 and they've suddenly looked at this number and thought, "Gosh," and then they realise it's racking up, as you say, by another £130 every? It's unbelievable, actually. I mean, are they a little bit scared about this?
Well, they are, and I don't think the two of them actually realised just about the interest. I don't think they did. And what I find too, because I think you've talked about that before, I wasn't listening to the programme, but about the contact hours they had at university, I think was very poor. I don't think the two of them, as I say, one went to Lincoln, one to Plymouth, felt they got value for money. And it's interesting that even when we went to the graduation ceremony in Plymouth, it was all about the professors and the research they're doing. In fact, they didn't talk much about the students at all.
Yeah.
And it felt to me that the whole thing's just a business.
George, it's a very interesting phone call. And actually, really must be quite something, mustn't it? Perhaps you've been missold. Perhaps this is the next mis-selling scandal, that all the way through we're telling people you must go to university, and like George's twins, you come out at 22, you owe 49 grand, and every month you don't pay, it racks up by another 130 quid. It's not pretty, is it? Some take a different view. Stuart says on Facebook, "I don't mind paying for basic education, but anything more than that, pay for it yourself." Anna says, "I've taken my degree off my CV too, as when you go for a job, the HR people think you're more qualified than them. They think you're after their job." Julie says, "One of the girls I manage is on about 23,000 a year and has a 53,000 £53,000 debt. Unbelievable." Yes, Julie, and as we reiterated over the last few months, with interest chunking on with every month that goes by. It is ridiculous to graduate with £50,000 of debt, especially for non-vocational courses. It can only help to put off the poor and disenfranchise them from higher education. Simply madness, says Dr. Burton. Nigel, in view of the shortage of medical staff in this country, seems sensible to me that those students do not pay university fees, but sign a contract that when they qualify, they commit to a certain period of time to work in the NHS system. Denise, I agree. Because one of the other problems we've got is people are qualifying as doctors and nurses, going into an NHS where they're massively overburdened, they're under vast amounts of pressure, and they think, do you know what? Australia's got really lovely weather. So I think, Denise, that would be a very good contract to make for the future, that we do give people, take the fees away, but we need a few years' service, indenture, if you like, back from them. That would make a lot of sense to me. Right now, you're listening to the Nigel Farage Show, exclusively on LBC, and it's 7:45.
Coming up at 8 on LBC, Clive Bull.
Corbyn and May clashed in the Commons today. He said the government is exploiting workers. She says we have to live within our means. Who do you think is right?
Clive Bull on LBC.
Nuisance phone calls are a frustrating problem we've all encountered.
Whatever it might have been in the past, calling people on their home telephone is not an acceptable way of marketing. There is an effective solution for individual people. The first of the networks is the SkyTalk Shield, which is a totally effective way of preventing yourself being a victim of nuisance calls.
With SkyTalk Shield, the new personalised call screening service for your landline, you can choose to answer the calls you want and block the ones you don't. To find out more and enter to win a new laptop, plus an 18-month Sky Fibre and Talk package, including SkyTalk Shield, visit lbc.co.uk.
Don't settle for poor rates. Change your travel money before you get to the airport with Thomas Exchange UK. Established in 1978, visit one of our 6 London branches or find our best rates online at tefx.co.uk. And with prepaid currency cards and international bank transfers at fantastic rates, Thomas Exchange UK is the place for your travel money. So visit tefx.co.uk today. That's tefx.co.uk.
My uni degree is not like other degrees.
It lets me study here. And here. And here. Even here. My degree's at Arden University, a uni that's more unique. A brand new way to learn when and where I choose. Online 24/7 and face-to-face on campus. Do a degree that's as unique as you. With Arden University in London. Discover more at arden.ac.uk.
If you won on Lotto, what would you get your mum?
I think the best thing for my mum would be to have her family around her all the time. So I'd probably use some modern technology to try and duplicate all those kids so she can have us around her all the time. Because that's what's most important to her, is being with us. I'd clone us all, yeah. I don't think the world's ready for that, actually.
Lotto. Who wins if you win?
Rules and procedures apply. Players must be 16 or over.
Neil's band were good last night. I say good, but it was good seeing them doing their thing. I think he was really chuffed I was there. He knows things have been tough lately. That I haven't been getting out much. Or sleeping, really. That I'm worried about my job. And bringing in less money. The thing is, I might have cancer. But the most important thing is that I'm his brother.
A brother with cancer is still a brother. We're here to help you deal with money worries. Because life with cancer is still life. And we're here to help you live it. We are Macmillan Cancer Support.
The Nigel Farage Show. Text 84850.
If you leave university with £57,000 worth of debt and interest chunking on every month, is it a debt that is worth paying? And some really, really strong opinions on both sides of this debate. And fascinating text, tweets and phone calls. The big danger, as I see it, is the threshold for repayment has not been raised. No, it's down and below 20,000. Quite soon, with inflation taken into account and with the minimum wage going up, people on mundane minimum wage jobs will be having to repay their debt. And that, I think, is a very, very good point, because all of those things are now beginning to come together. Go to countries like India, China, Eastern Europe, where it's cheaper to obtain a degree. Why do you need to study in the UK? Anonymous. Well, actually, the other point we made today was you can do it through the Open University for somewhere between a quarter and a third of the cost. The Open University, one of the great legacies, I think, that Harold Wilson left to this country. Ex-City Recruiter. Degrees don't need years and years these days to achieve. Modern research methods / time needed. Well, that's all well and good, Garden Gnome, who sent that in on Twitter. But it's all well and good. But why doesn't someone tell that to the 16 to 18-year-olds at school who, from what I'm being told, with the phone calls I'm getting in, and certainly evidence that I've seen, are all being told they must go to university without anyone explaining to them exactly what the cost and interest rate implications of all of this are. University fees. Just another vehicle for the banks to suck money out of us, not about improving the country and its skill base. That is too cynical, even for me. I graduated with a degree in network engineering. My debt is probably going through the roof, so we'll have to see if it's worth it in the end, says Keelan. Keelan about to graduate next week with this degree, and probably unsure, as to whether he's done the right thing. I hope for your sake, Keelan, I really do, that you have. Dominique from Croydon, which side of this debate are you on?
Well, to be honest, Nigel, I just wanted to touch on what your previous caller, Phil, was saying.
Yeah.
And just some of your callers also have, given the impression that they know X amount of people who've gone to uni, got great degrees and haven't got a job. Well, to be honest, Nigel, I'm 27 years old. Okay, I went to uni in 2007 and I finished in 2011. I actually messed up in my third year. I had to repeat it, and I'm in about £30,000 worth of debt at the moment. What I want to is, I kind of want to give some advice here. What I really want to express to people is that do not get a degree if you do not know how to use it. Okay, when I was in college, I knew exactly what I wanted to do. I knew exactly what industry I did not want it to be in. I didn't want to work in a really, really corporate cultural setting. I didn't want to work for an investment bank. I wanted to work in media. I actually studied accounting in college as my last choice and took that through into uni. I actually also got a 2-2 degree. But the second that I left uni, I got a job immediately. And I got a job, the first job that I started doing was temporary work for a recruitment company, which was actually data entry. But I was so ambitious and I knew exactly what I wanted to do. I was so motivated, and it really came across in interviews. And in the majority of interviews that I've gone to and the jobs that I've gotten, they've all said the same thing. I knew how to use my degree. I knew exactly what I wanted. I think parents need
But Dominic, Dominic, I mean, you are making a very, very powerful argument. I have to say, if I was an employer and you came in and started talking to me like that, I think, wow, hire her, because she's good. But how? When you've got that level of drive that you've expressed in the space of 60 seconds on LBC, how is a degree an advantage to you? You could have done that without a degree 3 or 4 years earlier.
Okay, so when I did my degree, I feel like for me personally, it helped me grow as a person. Okay, just to understand the corporate world, just to understand, meet different people and just kind of experience and see what life and what opportunities there are out for me. The number one fact that I will give to, in advice to many people that are listening here is that, first of all, if you don't have a degree, it is very, very, very hard to find a regular job. And when I say a regular job, I mean a job in a professional setting, in an office. I don't know the numbers, but I think the majority of people in London work in a professional environment. Having a degree gives you an advantage over those that do not have degrees. Okay, some people are a little bit special and they're able to use whatever gift that they have to become entrepreneurs, become singers, rappers, you know what. But the majority of people do not have that gift. And I'm one of those people that don't have that gift, but I know exactly what I want and what I want to do in life.
Dominic, it's a lovely phone call. Thank you. And Dominic making the point that for a lot of people, actually, those 3 years are years in which they grow up a bit and they find themselves. And she clearly has got great self-confidence, having done her degree. Although I think in her case, she probably would have. I suspect she'd have had it anyway. But you know, for some people, it's a good thing. And there are lots of jobs where you do need a degree, but not 44% of the population, the point I keep making. School leavers don't have to go to university. You used to bang on about apprenticeships, Nigel. Now you have joined the lefty media club, says BJ. Well, I have to confess, I've never thought of LBC as being a lefty media club. I have thought of it as being a talk radio station with the most extraordinary, diverse range of people who present its programmes, and I would challenge anybody out there, if you take the balance of the output of LBC, to call it left or right, because it simply isn't. They're far too clever, the people that run this place, to do that. Well, there we are. I should stay on for another week at least. I told a porky on my CV and banged on about having a degree, but I got a call telling me I was overqualified. I told them it was a lie, but by then it was too late. Oh, I do like that. That's a really good one. Dean in Liverpool. I believe you're at university now, is that right?
Yeah, I'll graduate next week.
Next week, right. And what are you studying?
I study marketing and statistics. I did do.
Yes, OK, so you're waiting for your... So Dean, you're about to leave. You're about to go out into the world of work. Do you feel you've got a big advantage under your belt now going out there?
Not really. I feel just as unprepared as I was when I left school. I was saying before, I just felt like I was definitely badgered into it by everyone around me. You know, you have to go to university. If you don't go to university, then you're seen as some type of, failure or disappointment, which really got me to go, I've kind of done it now, but I've come out and felt like, what have I done it for? We were told to, apply to graduate jobs, apply for any jobs we could. And I'm coming out and they're going, yeah, great, you've got a CV. So is everyone else. Tell me what you've got, what skills you've got. And obviously going through the whole education system now, I've come out of university. I didn't have a job when I was in university just to focus on my work. And I've got, they're asking for like sales experience, types of experience that I just don't have. And they're almost disregarding my degree as, well, everyone's got one and that's fine. And I've come out and I'm just like, oh, I've got all this debt now and for what? Like, I just don't see it working.
No, Dean, I'm sorry to hear that tale. I really genuinely am. But it sounds once again that you're another young person who effectively has almost been bullied into going to university, aren't you?
Yeah, I mean, my family saved a lot for me to go to university, and I paid my way through it, cash in hand, through everything. And but now I've just come out of it, and I just feel, well, I'm really grateful for that. But I don't feel like I can apply to it or use it to anything, because the jobs I'm going to, they are just saying that I need extra. But I mean, I'm reading stuff online as people are talking through, and the difference between having a degree and not having a degree in salaries is meant to be £12,000. But I just don't see that when I'm applying to jobs online. I don't see that.
Well, it depends. It depends what sector you're going to. Dean, my advice: put all negative thoughts behind you. Go out there, graduate next week, celebrate, enjoy it, and get out there into the world of work. Work hard, be honest, and you'll do well. I'm sure you will. Thank you. Well, in many ways, Dean's phone call, I think, sums up the last hour. It's very clear to me that there's been a huge deception put on a very large number of young people in this country who've been encouraged, virtually bullied, into going to university, people who perhaps in many cases are not academically gifted and who are going out into the world of work without any particular advantage, and a huge amount of debt around their neck and an interest rate that keeps ticking up with every day that passes. It's a bit of a scandal. You've been listening to The Nigel Farage Show here on LBC. I'm back tomorrow at 7. Coming up at 10, it's Ian Collins, but up next, it's Clive Bull.
Nigel, thank you. So Jeremy Corbyn and Theresa May clashed in the Commons today. He said the government is exploiting